What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you all are having a very blessed and wonderful day. Today we have another chill video as we're going to be discussing a serious topic. I personally feel like it shouldn't be a serious topic, but the community has pretty much turned it into one. And that topic is, should the Suicide Squad be considered as canon? Now, way back in August 2020, when we had the first piece of promotional material released, which in my opinion is still one of the hardest pieces of material that has come out from Rocksteady, which is the poster of Superman with the crosshairs on the back of his head, which coincidentally is also the logo, right? Double entendre there. Everybody thought that we were in for another great game from Rocksteady. Now, we still are, right? Because then the trailer came out later at DC Fandom and everybody was like, oh damn, kill the Justice League. Okay, you know what, it's a weird take, but it looked cool, right? Everybody had, I won't say faith in it, but everybody was definitely enjoying the idea of it for a specific amount of time until we got our first look at the gameplay. And that right there is when the consensus started shifting for the worse. When the hatred started kicking out in full force, this topic pretty much came right alongside it. And various things like Polygon's recent article really has done nothing but add more fuel to the fire. The title of their recent article is Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League is Bringing Joker Back from the Dead. Now, I will say that in the article, even though they state that this is an Elseworlds Joker, that title name was horrendous because it's not even clickbait at that point. It's literally just misinformation because it's set up to make you believe that the Joker that we watched get cremated and incinerated at the very beginning of Arkham Knight has somehow made his way back into our very lives, and he's going to be a main character going forward. If you show someone the title of this article and they don't read it, automatically they're gonna start questioning what the hell is Suicide Squad doing and how is this game even a thing, because Joker being alive contradicts the whole, like, the events of the past game. Like, Joker should be dead. Joker should be dead, right? Now, I don't know why we've been having a lot of issues with journalism regarding this game. It's weird. I can't really explain it. It just is what it is at this point. Now, the whole game can't be canon to Arkham is a stupid argument in my personal opinion, right? A lot of the fallback arguments containing some of the various things like this is disrespectful to the legacy. This doesn't make sense. This game isn't the same as the past three, so it shouldn't be considered part of the series, which is funny enough ironic because Final Fantasy, a series that a lot of people love, 13, 14, and 15 are all three completely different games in a gameplay aspect, and those are set in the same series. And I don't hear anyone saying that those shouldn't be a part of the main line of games. Those shouldn't be a part of the canon, even though they are set in different universes. I'm not seeing anyone say that about those games, right? You could even use The Last Jedi as a perfect example, because Star Wars fans hated the hell out of that movie. Still doesn't change the fact that it's canon. Just because you don't like what happened in the movie doesn't mean you could, well, you can't forget about it, but it doesn't mean you can forget about it and then treat that as a literal fact. That's not how things work. So let me be clear. We are talking about comics here, DC Comics specifically, where continuity changes all the time. Like every other few years, we normally get a reboot. Like what's the current reboot that's happening right now? Is it Dawn of DC? I believe, yeah, Dawn of DC is currently the new saga that we are in. That just, further goes to prove my point. The Flashpoint storyline in DC Comics, one of the most famous storylines in all of comics, period, was a reset for DC Comics across the board. What followed was the New 52, and people was okay with that to a certain extent. Different stories in a new canon that we move forward with, but we are still able to acknowledge that what came before was still canon to the events that are taking place now nonetheless. You take a look back at the previous Arkham games, right? We watch Batman persevere against impossible odds time and time again, further cementing his legacy as one of the greatest heroes to ever do this, with all of that ending with him faking his death and becoming a new symbol in order to continue protecting the innocent the way that he did beforehand. But now he's not shackled by the chains of Bruce Wayne and he can just be Batman, because as we all know, Batman is Bruce Wayne, when it comes to Batman, Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is the real identity. That's pretty much what Batman has become over the past couple of years, not just with Arkham, but just like with comics in general. This time around, however, he's made his return in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and we have to kill him because he's under Brainiac's control along with the rest of the league minus Wonder Woman. Now, this literally sounds like another Tuesday in comics to me. I'm just being 100% honest. The fact that he's back and now we have to kill him doesn't take anything away that he's done in the past games. If anything, this will be mercy for Batman, because I want you to tell me if I'm wrong here. Knowing Batman's character, if there's truly no way to save them, Batman would rather you kill him instead of leaving him to destroy his home and the people that he cares about. He would not want you to leave him alive knowing the damage that he can cause. And he doesn't have powers. And that's saying a lot. Now, as far as we know, Brainiac is the strongest villain to date that he's fought. And seeing how this is the first time they've met, it makes sense that Batman will get blindsided by an enemy he knows nothing about, but people have an issue with that. I keep seeing people mention that Batman shouldn't have been easily taken over with mind control or corruption based off how he fought Joker taking over his mind in Arkham Knight. You're comparing an infection running off tainted blood and an already damaged psyche, because Batman, again, the poster child for a damaged psyche. You're comparing that to alien technology and methods that Batman knows nothing about. Not to mention, he had time to study the effects of what the Joker blood was doing and had prepared ways to deal with the worst outcome against him getting blindsided during his first fight against Brainiac. There was no way he could have prepared for that. This is the plot armor shit that I be talking about. Now, his identity getting revealed doesn't retcon the events of Arkham Knight, because it's not impossible to imagine him getting a pardon against any crimes that he may have done as Batman with a league that's backing him and is actively trying to rehabilitate Bruce into a functioning member of society again. Real quick, here's a spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear this, click ahead about a full minute into the video. So in the playtest, once you collected enough voice files for the league, you got to learn a little bit more about their backstory up until that point where we got cut off in the alpha. The league is actively trying to help Bruce recover into being a legitimate human again, because for the past 5 years, all he's known is Batman. All he's known is crime fighting. Like, that mask doesn't come off. It's not impossible to imagine him getting a pardon against any crimes he might have done with a league that is backing him. Again, I repeat that. Now, a few other things that I can sympathize with is Harley and Deadshot, right? Deadshot has been around since Origins, but this supposedly has been a copycat the whole time. And while I do agree, it's kind of weird that there wasn't even like a slight mention or a hint to there being another Deadshot. You can kind of look back and go, okay, yeah, there was small context clues and stuff like that here, with Batman saying various things like he's getting sloppy and he's not being clean with his kills. That was, you could look at that and say that those were hints of either this ain't the real Deadshot or this Deadshot has fallen off his game, because if it's one thing he's known for, Deadshot never performs a messy kill. He's good at what he does for a reason. Now, we're going to find out the history between the real Deadshot and the copycat of him that's been around since Origins, and also Harley's progression over Joker, which is probably the thing I have an issue with the most, because Harley's progression over Joker into becoming her own person, that is a major part of her character arc in damn near every story that she's in. That's not something you can really just skip over. But I trust that Rocksteady will actually explain it in game, because as they've said, story threads that were left off in Arkham Knight are going to be picked up in Suicide Squad. So we're gonna find out exactly how Harley was operating and moving forward post Arkham Knight. Not to mention, with Joker, an Elseworlds Joker being the first DLC character, there's no way they won't end up touching on some of that stuff again, because Harley's gonna have an insane amount of emotional whiplash with the two people that she previously cared for most in the world are now back in different forms in different variations, and it's throwing her for a loop. She's definitely gonna be a little messed up in the head even more than she already is. Also, the Poison Ivy Kid Ivy stuff, I'm sorry, but some of y'all are wild with the, it takes away from her sacrificing the night. How? I'm being honest, I legitimately have not heard one single good explanation of how it took away from her sacrifice. She gave her life performing one major final act of good, and she's rewarded with the chance of being reincarnated as a thank you for what she did. It's, if anything, it gives more to her sacrifice. She did good and she earned that ability to be rewarded. It's as simple as that. Also, some of y'all really didn't pay attention in Arkham Knight, which, as much as y'all claim to be super fans, y'all for sure didn't pay attention, and y'all for sure didn't pass middle school science, because the fact that a lot of y'all don't know that a plant can return to life if there's something left of the plant alive, that's a sign of how the American education system is fucking failing us. And some of you are down on that hill that I'm wrong and you right. But you can't disagree with Mother Nature, bitch. I'm sorry. Plants can come back to life. Go ask your science teacher. Go look it up on Google. You'll get the same answer. Just because Ivy died and we got Kid Ivy now, on top of everything else that is happening with these two games, it still does not mean that Suicide Squad isn't canon. Now, I don't want to repeat myself with the same old responses that I've been repeating, like this is disrespectful, like this isn't disrespectful to Cameron Conroy, and it doesn't destroy Batman's history. If Batman was doing this of his own free will, that would be different. Then you could sit here and say, oh, this game was disrespectful to everything that came beforehand if this was of his own free will. It's not. He's clearly not in his right mind. They have gone out of their way to make that known to us at every single step. Taking Justice Superman, for example, you could absolutely say that he damaged all of the good he did in the world when he snapped and became a goddamn tyrant, but the amount of bad that he did outweighed the good. Like, for example, taking away free will, becoming a dictator, killing kids, locking up people with insane sentences for petty crimes. You have a much better argument with Justice Superman than you do with Batman in this game, but that ain't the case here. This is all story progression. Now, I will agree on the fact that I would have been excited to see the adventures of Rocksteady's Justice League, but that's not happening, and there's nothing we can do about that. I would have liked a better explanation for certain things that happened off screen, like, for example, the Deadshot and the Harley Quinn mess, but there's nothing we can do about that. They're going to touch on that stuff once we get in the game. Once we can play it, we can actually see what happens. So it makes no sense to sit here and say this, that, and the third when we don't know the full details of everything. It's like we literally just had a situation last month where us finding out information about the game ended up being fake because everybody jumped to conclusions without the proper context. Now, this game, following the events of the past 3 games, 4 if you count Origins. I do. Some people don't. Origins is canon. I don't know why that's still a hotbed topic, but it is. Origins is canon. If the devs wish this to be so, then this game is canon to the past games. It does not matter how you feel. You cannot go against an official statement that pertains to that person's company or that person's product. That's the same as you writing a bunch of short stories and then I come out of nowhere and I tell you the last 3 stories that you wrote aren't canon to the ones that came before them because it's inconsistencies and things in the story. Now, if it's your story, you have the right to say what is canon and what is not. It's their story, so they have the right to do that. This is the Arkhamverse. Stories in just in general, not even just with this game, but stories in general are bound to have oversight or inconsistencies at some point, but they can still be treated as canon. I can literally use the Netflix Marvel series as an example because that just got made canon to the overall MCU. Also, I'm very proud of that because now hopefully Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. can be made canon. That definitely needs to get done. Now, one thing that I constantly hear is about how the movies in the Arkham comics that Paul Dini wrote aren't canon to the game's trilogy. But when it comes to Suicide Squad, all of a sudden now the movies and the comics are a valid point to prove why the game isn't canon. It's a lot of flip-flopping. The movies and comics aren't connected to this. The game is. The game is canon. Now, I imagine I'm gonna catch a lot of hate for this one. I'm a random person on the internet just spitting out his opinion on things like you are. Only difference is, I'm not running around the videos and comment sections on Twitter to let somebody know how much I don't like the game and inserting myself into a space where I clearly don't want to be or have no interest in being. My opinion is that, regardless of whatever you say, the developers list this game as canon, and that's the end of it. If you don't like it, the Arkhamverse ends at Arkham Knight for you. This game doesn't exist. You have 3 games, 4 if you count Origins. You can go back and play whenever you want to, and you can be perfectly fine. But this game is canon, unless stated otherwise. And that's by Rocksteady, not by you. I'm not trying to make a 30-minute long video going off about, oh, Rocksteady dropped the ball. They should have did this. They didn't do that. They don't care about the community. I'm not doing that. That's the waste of my time. And I'm talking out my ass when I don't know the full story. And a lot of you don't know the full story either. And if you think you do, you definitely don't, because there's a lot of context that's missing. I don't know the answers to everything yet. So again, the Arkhamverse ends at Arkham Knight for you, for any of you that cannot see the game as canon. But I believe that it should be seen that way. Good or bad, I'm not opposed to being on the other side of the fence. People wanted Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice to be canon for the Snyderverse, as an example. And I didn't care for it because that was a fucking horrible movie to me. Still doesn't change the fact that it's canon, but that's the whole point that I'm trying to prove here. I don't like it, but I can respect and accept the fact that it's canon and go on about my day, because it does not affect me as a person. I have my own shit going on. I do not have time to worry about whether or not Batman killed somebody in the first game. That's that's all I gotta say. That's really all I gotta say on the matter. I believe the game should be canon to the Arkhamverse, but if you don't, more power to you, but please don't go around preaching your opinion as fact. Don't do that. And with that being said, that's gonna go ahead and that's gonna bring us to the end of the video. Hopefully you all have had a great and wonderful time here. Let me know down in the comments below if you think this game should be canon to the Arkhamverse. And again, if you've enjoyed the video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and smack the notifications bell so you won't ever miss out on any of my future Suicide Squad related content. And I will catch y'all in the moonlight. Peace.